Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yard Master, joining our host, the Housecoat Gamer.
Yo.
Today, we're doing another overview vid to prepare for looking into more Klingon ships, specifically Battlecruisers this time.
Well, that's a bit of an overlap here. Heavy cruisers and battle cruisers.
Weapon research.
Yeah.
For example, this is the D4 class battle cruiser, but it really does fill the same role as a heavy cruiser, really.
Yeah.
Klingon designations. They're weird.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That is the first Klingon ship we really know of, the D4.
Now, I know some people are going to be saying, we never saw this on Enterprise. You can blame the production schedule. You see, as much as I hate Unexpected, just like everybody else does because the episode was ridiculous, what really stuck in everybody's craw was the inclusion of a Katinka-class battlecruiser.
Yeah.
You see, that was supposed to be this.
Faster.
And hopefully, in the next few years, maybe coinciding with Enterprise's 25th anniversary, we'll get a,
Go there.
well, a quote-unquote remaster akin to TOS, removing all the really dumb ships, like this thing. Okay, the Katinka, the one that doesn't really fit.
Yeah. And replacing them with models that do.
This is John Eve's very, very, very good-looking D4 class battlecruiser. The D4 is one of the first vessels in the fleet to use the boom and engineering section configuration that we all love so much.
Yep.
Well, the original design was
Weapon
originally
research is
pioneered on the D4. That was eventually demoted and redesignated as the F4, as a kind of destroyer-class vessel. Eventually, the D4 Clotho
Weapon research is
would
complete.
eventually be redesignated in a very similar way, because the Klingons, just like a lot of people, like reusing designations.
Yeah.
Regardless, the ship's success and general configuration would remain the staple for the next 150 years, almost without interruption.
Yeah. The first Klingon battlecruiser in the Star Trek Adventures Klingon core rulebook is the D5. They give it an entered service date of 2146.
I know there's a D5 in... here it is.
Reinforcements have arrived.
We'll get into you later. But first,
What
let's
is it
touch on
now?
this thing.
Right.
Well, we could call them entering service at the same time, like we've shown with other Klingons, birds of prey. They do operate on a similar system
A
to the
battle has
AKBs of the old Soviet Union. Rather fittingly, because the Klingon Empire was supposed to emulate the Soviet Union in TOS.
Ah. So, I was thinking this would just be like a general lineage video, but if you're wanting to do the D4,
This is a general lineage video, but we have to mention that this ship and the D5 are contemporaries.
Yeah.
We have to mention it exists. It is
Yeah.
the nature of the whole thing.
Yes.
So, first off, we go with the D5. The D4 is an honorable mention, and we will deal with that boat much later.
Yeah.
The D5, I presume, was made by another house that wasn't. House Katinga.
Yeah, yeah. House Katinga didn't show up until doesn't really show up until the 23rd century.
I say that for a reason. The D4 obviously looks like House Katinga. This thing looks like whoever the hell designed the Raptor.
We have detected an anomaly.
Here's what the book says. The D5 battlecruiser was the latest iteration of Imperial assault starship design from the engineering team at the Dakyan Forge when it was introduced in 2146 in the lead up to the campaign to conquer the Bemoth system and its indigenous inhabitants. The Bemoth people were a newly warp-capable species discovered in 2141 and had shown a long history of civil conflict that made them into formidable warriors. The D5 led the charge against the Bemoth, and its ablative armor proved more than capable against the layered planetary defenses and heavy particle cannon emplacements mounted on orbiting defense asteroids circling high above the world. When the Empire first encountered United Earth and saw that the Vulcan High Command was assisting them through personnel exchange, the High Council felt that this new human menace was the largest threat to the Empire since the defeat of the Hark. The D5s of the fleet were recalled and refit with newly developed defensive shields based on salvaged Vulcan systems from a destroyed spy vessel attempting to gain knowledge of the dilithium refinement facilities on Praxis. These newly upgraded D5s were deployed into systems controlled by the Empire and between Kronos and Earth. By 2155, all D5s had been refit in time for the outbreak of the Earth-Romulan War. The D5 continued to serve with honor in the KDF even after the Earth-Romulan War. Improved weapons systems and warp coils were installed through the 22nd century, and improvements in solid-state microengineering and symmetrical subspace field generation allowed the D5 to continue to serve as a battlecruiser until the introduction of the D7 in the late 2250s. The D5 was then moved to secondary positions in battlecruiser squadrons, and by the 2270s the D5 was phased out of frontline service entirely and moved to system defense and house fleets.
Able to get my hands on the refit model in a few minutes. That said, we should really discuss the house that designed this thing.
Yeah. We don't know who that is. I mean,
Weapon research is complete.
all they say is engineering team at the Dakyan Forge.
That's a little disappointing.
A battle has
Yeah.
begun.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of the Klingon
Another faction has discovered
houses
an
specializing in the art of making
Reinforcements
things
have
that murder
arrived.
things.
Yeah, and there are rules for creating great houses, and they've got and there's some really cool. And one of the steps is choosing your house legacy or what they're known for.
Yeah, here's what they're known for. Making starships.
Yeah, there's 6 different categories based on the different disciplines. Leaders,
Ready to
command,
colonize.
warriors,
Another
security,
planet is ours.
spacefarers, con,
Do not understand.
engineers,
Do not understand.
engineering. Those are either the shipwrights or the weapons designers. Scientists,
Have arrived.
science, or physicians, medicine.
I
Weapon
wonder
research
who
is
would be the
complete.
best suited
A new
towards,
battle station is complete.
well,
A battle has begun.
Yeah.
Planetary research is complete.
This would probably I might need to try creating a house for some of these things, but yeah, an engineering house a house of engineers would certainly work for this.
indeed. Regardless, we will discuss.
Planetary research is complete.
We will discuss that in detail, including touching up the stats a little bit, at a later date. The book skips over the D6 next, and The next ship up on the line is the
Planetary research is
D7,
complete.
introduced in 2250.
Nothing of
This is a
interest has
logical
been
version
found.
of the boat.
Weapon research is
A
complete.
half step between the Glory
We have detected an anomaly.
and the D7, obviously.
Nothing of interest
Yep.
has been found.
Which brings us to the D7.
Yes, the glory of the D7.
There are numerous sub-models of the D7.
Reinforcements have
This
arrived.
is the first. The D7A Akif.
Yep.
Weapon research
And
is complete.
This
There's-
is not the ship that actually
Reinforcements
the
have
Enterprise D
arrived.
and everybody else encountered during the intervening years. Those were D7Bs. This is the first
Yeah.
model.
Yeah. And here's, and again, there's lore in the book, and this is where House Katinga first really starts showing itself.
Reinforcements have arrived.
I'll go ahead and read the
The
overview.
battle has begun.
The mid-23rd century saw increasing competition between the Empire and the Federation for space supremacy across our shared border region. The KDF had been relying on refitted D5 cruisers nearly 100 years old and still capable of expanding the far-flung borders of the Empire. But the introduction by Starfleet of the Constitution-class heavy cruiser in 2243 laid bare the Empire's reliance on these ancient vessels.
Ready
The long-term
for battle.
development plan was put into motion by the High Council and overseen by General
Reinforcements have
Koro
arrived.
to develop a suitable weapons platform to challenge Starfleet in firepower and in deep space deployments. The final design of the D7 occurred in
We have a new
2247,
ship for the fleet.
but when the Empire was able to capture a functional
well.
duotronic computer system from a Starfleet
Reinforcements have
vessel,
arrived.
further installation of the sensor and data networks in the D7 was halted until the duotronic systems were reverse engineered in 2250. The first D7 launched to great celebration only 2 months later. The D7 battlecruiser became the most visible symbol of the Empire, and squadrons of the vessels would attack and harass Federation outposts in illegal colonies regularly. Even then, this symbol of strength and power almost fell away when a brief alliance with the Romulan Star Empire allowed the KDF access to cloaking devices. The then current D7 space frame couldn't accommodate the cloak, and the High Council began liquidating the D7 fleet and trade to the Romulans for more cloaking devices that would be installed in a new generation of
Detected
vessels.
An anomaly.
A brilliant scientist named Katinga discovered that the cloak the Romulans were providing was faulty, and with some modifications could be used in vessels as large as the D7, as long as the outer hull plating was manufactured in a new fashion. The alliance ended when Katinga himself stabbed the cowardly Romulan ambassador through his heart. While dozens of D7s had been traded away, a new design of the D7 was born, the Katinga class, the first production run having green-tinted plating to represent the blood of the traitorous Romulan Patach. The new battlecruiser design came into service in 2270 and would continue to serve the KDF as its frontline starship until the mid-24th century, when the introduction of larger vessels such as the Vorcha and Negvar class battlecruisers relegated the venerable design to escort and support duties.
Reinforcements have
The
arrived.
Katinga variant is designated as D7C, which gives us our excuse to look at Home Trek for a little bit. Though, here's the refit D5. Look familiar?
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from STO. These guys incorporated a lot of STO stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, these guys are pretty smart.
Ready to strike!
And then there's the tanker variation.
Oh, that's cool. Klingon, a note here on the tanker variant. Klingons didn't really have standardized transports or freighters until about the 2350s, according to the book.
Destroy.
The basic Klingon civilian transport entered service in 2352. And the Partok class transport
On my way.
entered service in 2356.
Go there.
Also a note, the Partok is a design that uses modular that can swap out modular cargo pods in a very similar fashion to mission pods for the Nebula, Luna, Sutherland class starships, etc.
A new battle station is complete.
Anywho, like I said, this is our time to swap over to home track. Behold the D7C, the venerable Katinga class.
Yep. And while I expect the green tinted I would expect the green tinted plating that was mentioned in the Star Trek Adventures Klingon book is to be not quite that blatant. This definitely works.
It's actually filming model accurate.
Ah.
Yeah, they look a little darker because they changed the paint a little. Regardless, the D7C would serve as a modification for multiple vessels, including a command cruiser, and the inspiration for a few more battlecruiser variants, though some would skew into the, well, supercruiser variant. They get pretty close to battleship status. Battleships, of course, are something we're going to have to deal with later.
Alright, so we have the D7C again as something of a control.
Yeah, if the models look a little off, that's because this is more or less ripped directly from Star Trek Starfleet Command. Squire James went on a bit of a spree, shall we say. Regardless, the D7C would be used as the basis for multiple vessels. Now,
Yep.
let's see, where is she? Ah, here it is. I'm not entirely sure if the C7 would exist, but it does exist in Starfleet battles. Just probably doesn't have this configuration. Either way, the D7's general configuration is generally useful, and was built into numerous subtypes, such as the D7M Suhui, or Warrior's Anger, though Bortas would Father's Revenge would probably be more figurative, because the original ship of the class, the Sohui, used to be a D7C that saw some heavy modifications, including 2 torpedo tubes in the command boom, a third nacelle, forward sweeping of the, well, pod wings, and more disruptor cannons.
Yep.
We've already covered this boat, but in short, it makes the D7 look like a piece of crap, and is often used as a command ship.
Yep.
And then we have the 2 competitors here. The Bertha, a supercruiser meant to replace pretty much everything in the Navy, which failed miserably.
Yep.
And, of course, the far more iconic and useful Vaudelaire class, the Emperor, which takes everything about the D7 and takes it up, well, to 11, I suppose.
Yeah.
Including 2 shieldbuster Mason guns, and a heavy photon torpedo launcher that fires trilithium-enhanced warheads.
Yeah.
Nasty little torpedo launcher. During this time, however, it was discovered that the D7 was finally getting a little long in the tooth. well, the ship would finally get replaced by a new design. New, more like new build with new technology put into it, the D-15 Koloth. It would see a new generation of vessel that actually, well, had her genesis during the Ormong of 2291 and saw limited service during that time. The Camarag class. But that is beyond the purview of this vid. We've only gone from the 22nd century to the late 23rd.
Yes. Though the battlecruiser lineage does progress into the 24th and 25th centuries with the Vorcha and the Camarag, as Ron mentioned, but the core book doesn't cover that. I'll go with what the book says about the Vorcha in overview to wrap us up, and Ron can make comments if he wants afterwards. So, overview. Peace with the Federation and the static border with the Romulan Star Empire during the first half of the 24th century had led the KDF to become complacent with battlecruiser design. This was highlighted in 2357, when Chancellor Kempek was leading a sizable formation of Katinga-class and Burrell-class starships aboard Kronos 1 in a show of force against the Gorn hegemony. Kronos 1 was set to launch the first salvo of photon torpedoes against the hegemony asteroid mining complex discovered light years inside the Empire's borders. But the power draw for the new torpedo systems was too much for the aging vessel, and the torpedo misfired and lodged inside the unpowered launch mechanism before detonating and killing many warriors. A furious Chancellor Kempek transferred his flag to the Burrell-class IKS Planatok and ensured the mining complex was destroyed, before ordering the KDF to design a new vessel, impressive enough to be a flagship for the Empire. Rapid advancements in warp core design, computer technology, and sensor systems from the Empire's friendship with the Federation meant the design of the Vorcha class kept undergoing revision. Chancellor Kempek would die from a cowardly assassination via poison only 10 standard days after the launch of his new flagship in 2367. The second vessel built, IKS Kempek, was named after the late Chancellor by then-Chancellor Gowron and gifted to House Kempek to honor their namesake's sacrifice. While the Vorcha class was originally intended to be only used as flagships or as command vessels in large squadrons or small groups of battlecruisers, this has changed since the brief war with the Federation and the war with the Dominion. Katinga-class vessels are slowly being replaced by the new Vorcha class, as quickly as warriors are trained in the new vessel systems.
While the general line of thought is not something I'm going to argue with, the designation, I am. It is a battlecruiser. See, I have a bit of a problem with people pretending something is something that it is not. For example, they call it an attack cruiser, but it fulfills the same role as the D7, which makes it a battlecruiser. It's kind of like people calling the Kirov class a battlecruiser when it is in fact little more than a guided missile cruiser. It does not have big guns like a traditional battlecruiser, see HMS Hood, or SMS Prince Eugen, or whatever the hell the Kriegsmarine designation was for that thing.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a battlecruiser. Just like the Negvar is a battleship. But we'll get into that much later.
Yep. That is basically our overall lineage of the battlecruiser type vessel, with a mention of some Vorcha variants being produced in the era of Star Trek Online, but we have many vessels to go over in detail before we can get to that.
Indeed. Bye-bye.